Okay. All right, I show that it's 1 minute after 7. We're calling the March 14th meeting of the Forest Lakes Metro Board to order. I see that Carissa and Derek, Robin, Corey, and myself are all here, so we have all board members on board. Anybody want to make a motion to approve the agenda?
I'll make a motion that we approve the agenda.
Okay.
Second.
Okay, Carissa, you're in favor, Derek?
I'm in favor. I'm in favor. Aye.
Okay, and I'm in favor, so the agenda is approved. I'll make a motion that we approve the previous minutes. Second,
Second it.
okay, Robin seconded,
Aye.
Corey's in favor, Carissa?
Aye.
Okay, Derek?
Aye.
Okay, it's unanimous. Okay, budget committee, Carissa or Corey, do you have any updates?
Nothing new.
Nothing there, okay. Recreation committee, any activity?
No.
Okay.
Nothing this time.
Nothing?
Nope.
Okay. Okay, on the personnel committee, I wanted to just, since this is the first meeting we've had since Bruce left, I just wanted to make sure everyone that's aboard, there's a public comment section later.
No, I just didn't know if we would get a copy of the agenda. No?
We did not make them for you.
Okay.
So
I've
it's
just
on
never
that.
been to a board meeting where we get an agenda.
But
So,
we don't,
No, no.
we don't typically have the public hearing.
okay, I can give you one.
Yeah, you guys.
You
can-
see that if you'd like.
Okay. yeah.
Okay, so, again, I just want to make sure everyone was aware that, Bruce Barrett had resigned his position as manager. So we're in the middle of, organizing our way forward to arrange for another manager to come in. And we'll be looking at, potentially getting an interim manager in the meantime.
Do you have other candidates? Is that what you said? I left my hearing aid at home.
Yes, we have other
we have
candidates. Yes.
You're on it for a certain length of time and then you vet all of them and
Yeah.
go through all of that.
Okay, so, while we're here, I did want to acknowledge that we have Leslie Monroe on Zoom. She's our accountant. And, I don't know if you wanted to say anything, Leslie?
Well, I've been working with Jamie and to try to get the budget document refiled. The budget, it looks like the budget was filed on time with the Department of Labor and Affairs, but it was rejected. So I've been going through it. It's got some columns that's got where they just didn't put the right columns in there. And one of the main things that's missing off that budget document are the beginning and ending fund balances. So that's what I'm working through right now, is to sort of determine what are the beginning ending fund balances, pulling the information off the audit. And I did get a hold of the auditor that did the 2021 audit, and they sent me some really helpful work papers. So I'm working through it. I think within a day or two, we'll have the budget ready to resend to DOLA.
And Dola's still being cooperative with us, right?
I haven't communicated with them. Jamie just sent me a copy of the email or some sort of notice that came that said, saying that it was rejected. And it doesn't really say exactly why, but when I started going through it, I could just see the things that are missing. So.
Yes, and DOLA is still cooperating. I've been communicating with them, letting them know our status.
All right, Leslie, did you have any other comments on that? That sounds good. I appreciate the update.
Not really. I did have a question. I was curious about the 2022 audit. If there's a contract with an auditor in place for the 2022.
We're working on that.
There
Working
wasn't,
on that.
well, yeah, we had a contract previously, but their workload got too high and they dropped us as a client. So we have to find a new one. We have a potential contract, and that's something we need to look at so we can get that signed right away.
Okay.
Anything else, Leslie?
Not really, no.
Okay, thank you. Now we're on to public comments, so, each speaker is limited to 5 minutes and you'll have to identify yourselves, your full name and address if you have something to address the board with. So, I guess we can start here.
No, well, I guess Adam Wagner, 455 River Ranch Circle, out of district in River Ranch. I just find it odd that you didn't want me to speak, but you let her speak when she had a couple questions.
I'm trying to, she was basically saying, I can't hear you. And she did throw something else in. I'm just trying to keep in order. It's never a perfect thing. So,
No, I get it. No big deal. Yeah, and that's it. Yeah, I'm just here, just observing.
okay.
So I'm good.
Yes, of course, Forest Lakes has a big gossip circle, which I don't even. do.
Yeah, okay, so would you introduce yourself and your address, please?
Ann Schreier, I've been here since 1999. Tony served on the board, so I know quite a bit how a lot of these things function. And I feed the firemen and I feed the road crew, because anybody gets up at 2 o'clock in the morning to plow deserves something. But I'm just very curious what happened with Bruce. I thought he was gonna work out, but I know it was a tough winter for everybody. But I've heard different things, but is there anything at liberty that you would be able to tell somebody?
I don't really think we are at liberty to say very much. The basic thing is he handed us his resignation, so he's gone. And I will only go so far as to say we mutually agreed to the separation. So, you know, there's reasons on both sides for us to think it might be time to move on. So Bruce resigned. So,
He's the only one that had the same size as Tony, and I loaned him, gave him all those winter clothes and everything, and the boots with the cleats on them.
so did you have anything else, ma'am?
Pardon?
Did you have any other questions or any
No,
comments?
that's it.
Okay,
I'm Steve Dexel. I live here in Forest Lakes. I did put forth a proposal that's on your.
I see
desk
that. We'll discuss that later
Okay,
in a closed session.
in a closed section,
Yes, that's correct.
okay. And in that closed section, am I allowed to sit in here
No.
because I proposed it?
No. When you're talking about personnel issues like that, and there's negotiations involved and everything else, that's confidential information, and no such thing as the board has made a decision.
Sure.
So, but I appreciate you bringing it forth, and I appreciate you running for the board. And I'm glad I had the opportunity to meet you.
Thank you.
So,
I do agree with her that there's been a lot of back and forth on the different sites and so forth. I've been on, just recently got back to looking at next door. And I've asked a lot of questions for the confusion that's out there. I'm gonna say confusion. And misinformation. So there's several occasions where I've actually said, go to the source, find out what it is and put it out there so that some of this can maybe be put to rest.
well, that's the best thing anybody can do for social media. Social media is rife with people that spread misinformation, and it's very hard to discern what is and what is not
Right.
accurate. So,
Right.
some of us don't do social media. I never look at it. I don't want to be swayed by it. I don't want to be angered by it. I mean, there's a lot of stuff on it that's just not right. So I don't even look at it. Okay, is there anybody online that has any public comments?
There is a comment from Bonnie.
Uh-huh.
She would like to know how to access recordings of previous meetings.
Jamie, can you address that?
They're all on YouTube. I only keep the previous month on FLMD on our website, but all of them can be listened to and viewed on YouTube.
Okay, how does somebody get to those on YouTube?
They would just need to search FLMD on YouTube.
Okay, and Bonnie, if you have any troubles finding that, just give Jamie a call. I'm sure she can help you walk through it on the computer to get to them. Okay, anybody else online that has any questions or comments?
If you're online, you can either put it in the chat or on the very bottom of your screen. Isn't there a thing that says hand raised or something? How do we get there? More? No.
Yeah, Chris, I kind of prefer that folks speak up, because again, if you have to give your name, your address, that kind of thing, I mean, the chat's great if you're having difficulties with the connection, but yeah, I mean, go ahead and unmute yourself and put it out there for everybody.
Yeah, I'm with you there.
Okay, well, I'm not seeing anything else besides Bonnie's at this point. I'm gonna move on to the next item on the agenda. In Bruce's absence, I have attempted to put together a very brief manager's report. So let me just go through a few notes that I wanted to share with everybody. As far as Bruce's resignation, we are working with a firm that works with nonprofits to do headhunting. Since Bruce was here for less than a year, they have agreed to honor their warranty, if you want to call it that, where they will provide us their services if we have to recompete at no cost. So we have been working with them. I will mention that we had one additional good candidate from when we went through this a year ago that we felt might be a good candidate. We had CPSHR CPHSR reach out to them, and he expressed some interest. So we are going to discuss that in a closed session today, see if we want to make an offer and what that offer should look like. Okay, that's it for that item. Next thing, Mark Fuson, our water and wastewater ORC. He said with the recent samples that we've taken, it showed the ammonia levels in pond 1 too high. And the likely reason is the amount of water infiltration into our sewer system. We're getting way more water through than we normally do, and with all this snow melt, anywhere that it can get into a manhole cover or other places, we believe that's probably what's happened. So the pond temperatures are now too low, and the microbial action is not working like it's supposed to. They are taking actions to try to mitigate some of the water infiltration. They've also added some bugs to the pond to try to restart the microbial action. Realistically, we're not going to get sufficient microbial action until the water temperatures come up a little bit. So we're doing what we can to restart it. We've been in contact with the state. It's likely going to be a fail for the month. And it's kind of understood that this kind of thing happens in these open sewer ponds like we have. It's just one additional thing. Every time something like this happens, they look again and say, okay, at what point are we going to say you need to build a mechanical plant? So it's just right now they're working with us. The initial indications are we'll get a letter saying that we're in non-compliance, but there's not likely to be any fines or anything like that. Also, be aware that we may fail next month. Also, hopefully not a month after that, but even potentially then, just because it's going to take a while to get the water levels back up. We have the dark covered, the dark colored covers on the pond, so they absorb sunlight and they help get heat back into the water. But until that water temperature comes back, we're going to be at risk of failing the ammonia samples. Okay. O&M. We had a meeting with Rick Johnson, the engineer that has for years provided all our services. We had a really, really good discussion with him. Corey and I were there. Trevor was there. And Trevor or Corey, if I missed something or misstate, please speak up and let's correct it. But the immediate things that we're looking at trying to make sure that we can complete is the generator panels, getting them all connected. We've been waiting. Not only has the provider of the generator panels been waiting for some electrical parts that are in back order, but we've been waiting for some parts also so that we can properly connect it into our grid. As soon as those things get here, and we're thinking sometime in April, we'll get them installed. And then with LPEA and Rick Johnson and our electrician, we should be able to get that stuff completely hooked up. Right now, we have half of the panels hooked up, so we're gaining some benefit from the solar panels, but it's not totally up to speed yet. We also discussed the need for the generators, and Bruce had been pursuing that, so we need to go out and get some proposals for generators. If the power does go down, we have no way to pump the water up the hill, up to the storage tanks. So we really have a serious need to get a generator. So we're going to be trying to get some bids and take a look at that near term. As far as the dam relining project, well, one thing I will preface some of this with is Rick. He's been swamped with a proposal he's doing for a new sewer plant up at Purgatory. And so he's been unable to do much for us at this point. He said in about 3 weeks, that proposal will be completed and turned in. And within about 4 weeks, he said he can start providing us some of this support, getting some of the engineering drawings to us. But that dam relining is one we talked about a little bit. One other thing that I will say is in our discussion with Rick, and I believe it makes perfect sense. He has a financial model that he's used with a number of different organizations that he provides support to. And when people have large capital projects like this, you know, when you have a $2 million budget, you've got a $10 million project like the sewer treatment plant will be. You can't just go say, okay, let's start working, and you pay for it a little at a time. So there'll have to be loans, there'll be grants we go for, possibly bonds. And so he has a financial model that he uses and modifies it for organizations so that they can have a structured plan to make intelligent decisions about how you'll get the money, where you'll get the money, when you will phase the various projects in. And so we have asked him to work with us on putting one of those together after he gets finished with this proposal. So at that point, we're going to want Leslie, our accountant, and the other Leslie who writes grants probably at some point to sit down with him so that they can coordinate their efforts, make sure that the grant writing is focusing on the right things, making sure that from an accounting standpoint, that what we're talking about fits within the realm of our budget. And, you know, then when we have that, it's going to be time to kind of prioritize and figure out which projects do we have to tackle first. So that's one thing in my mind that's been missing ever since we came up with that CIP plan. The plan's great. It talks about the problems of their infrastructure, the shortcomings in it, and what we need to do to correct that. But it's never really addressed how do we fund it? How are we going to get there? So this will give us that piece of it. And then we'll have something that can be in the hands of the next manager that he's got to work with to help him get there. So with regards to our discussion with Rick, does any of the board members have any questions about that? Or Trevor, do you have any other comments?
Good.
Okay. In the absence of any other comments about that.
I'm sorry, I've never been at a meeting where nobody's introduced who, I know who we are, but who's everybody else.
Yeah, sorry.
Sorry,
We don't typically do it this way either, but
okay,
I'm the board president, Mark Rushfelt.
okay,
Corey Griffiths is one of the directors.
board member.
Robin Kissel.
The board member.
And who's Mark?
Mark Fusen, he's our ORC. He's in
Oh,
charge
okay.
of wastewater flow.
Okay, okay,
And Carissa is one of the board members.
Okay.
Can't see Derek because he's having connection.
Yeah, no,
problems.
that's fine. that's
He's just phoned in, so Derek
fine. Okay, and then Trevor is a board member.
and
No.
Trevor
Oh, no,
is-
Trevor is,
He's the maintenance supervisor.
okay, maintenance, and then Leslie is
He
the.
is on contract to provide
Okay.
accounting services to the
And Mr.
district.
Kerwin?
Trevor is the maintenance.
Supervisor.
Supervisor.
Good, yes.
Yeah,
Okay.
maintenance.
Okay.
Forest Lakes.
Okay.
Oh, sorry.
That's right.
Cookies.
It has come to my attention that the district did not properly complete the annual fire hydrant testing this past year. So we've contacted the fire department and we will be testing all fire hydrants this coming year. The FLMD crew is working hard. We thought we were gonna have to buy some gravel from C&J, but apparently they have been able to get some of the gravel out of our stockpile. So they're gonna be trying to work near term on addressing some of the potholes in our roads. They've ordered magnesium chloride and that's scheduled for delivery next week for binding the roads together. Daryl Johnson is currently shopping rates for current mag chloride and lig. The prices have increased so far. So we're gonna have to look at that and we get the final bids. I guess, this is,
Can I ask a question about the fire hydrants?
yes,
Whose responsibility is to clear those away? And some of them are almost buried. I know my neighbor at the end, and she's 62, she hand shovels and clears ours.
yes, the O&M shop clears those. They have been coming around clearing. I've seen this tractor came by in my street yesterday and cleared some fire hydrants, so they're making their rounds. Trevor, did you want to
I
address?
think so.
Yeah, it's a never ending job.
Yeah, we're still in the process of getting those all cleared out.
Okay. The melting helps too, that burns it down a little bit.
It sure does.
Okay, we received 16 new mailboxes. They'll be installed in the next couple of weeks. O&M had to let one of the guys go because of attendance issues. So we're down one person in the shop right now. Okay.
I have a question about the mailboxes.
Yeah.
Are we putting out any type of notification to the public that we're messing with the mailboxes so they don't try to come check their mail and can't get in?
That's already happened, actually. I've seen some people that went to get their mail and they did not have the key for the mailbox that had been installed where their old mailbox was. I suspect you'll be hearing about that.
We installed mailboxes, correct, Trevor?
Yes, sir. Yep, we actually installed 2 new mailboxes today. And when we were doing that, the mail lady wasn't there at the time. We do still have those other 2 mailboxes though, in our possession. So by tomorrow, if there was mail, I'm assuming there was in those mailboxes, they'll be able to retrieve them by tomorrow.
What is the process for notifying residents or switching the keys over? Does the postal service have to switch those locks over?
Yeah, the postal service usually does all the lock switchovers, yes.
Have we tried coordinating that with them so that we can get those replaced before she comes in the afternoon?
Yeah, it was coordinated to, have it done today, but by the time we got to it, she was already gone.
Okay, we need to think about that. If she's not gonna be there when we get it done, we probably need to think about whether or not we need to wait until she will be there so that we don't cause an interruption in people's mail service. So,
Right. Yeah, and the lady, she knew about she knew what we were gonna do, and we didn't know if there was in fact mail in those boxes or not. But apparently there was, and she had already put it in there. We didn't know at the time, but it won't happen again. We'll be able to communicate
Okay.
that better with her.
All right, thanks, Trevor.
Trevor, are they just 2 mailboxes or are they the posts with multiple mailboxes on them.
Pedestals.
Yeah, it's the post with multiple
Okay.
mailboxes on them.
So it's not just two mailboxes, it involves multiple.
Correct, yeah, multiple
The
yeah.
pedestals.
Pedestals, yep.
Thank you.
The parcel boxes as well.
Right, yes. Oh, just the parcel boxes.
I answered my own question.
Okay.
I do got one question. My name's DJ. I live here on Alpine Forest. How will we receive the new mailbox keys?
Are they switching the key over to the existing key? Is that what happens, Trevor?
From the
Yeah,
mailbox?
that's my understanding. Yep.
Okay.
Okay.
So there will be no new keys. They will just put your old lock into the new mailbox.
Perfect, perfect. Thank you.
So, Trevor is doing all the new mailboxes. Nobody is subcontracted to do any of that work.
He installs the mailbox.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Installs.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, the original came from the post office.
Okay,
I just thought they subcontracted some of that work. But, okay.
okay,
It's very handy.
okay.
Yeah.
Next, item of business is, is the office manager's report, Jamie?
She asked
Oh,
me
is
to
it
get
gonna
her
do it?
report, yes,
Okay.
sir. So the admin office did 5 title transfers, 2 title requests. We sent out 10 shut-off notices, 95 friendly reminders, 8 fob replacements, 171 accounts were updated this month, 197 phone calls, over 800 emails, 1,204 payments processed, 24 pay by text, 473 credit card payments, 87 payments made through Payport, 620 payments processed in-house, either checks or cash. We have 574 paperless billing customers and 165 auto pay. We had daily website updates and reviews. We did a DEO training for the election. We're preparing and printing election forms and documents. We updated the FLMD website with election information and are printing and preparing to mail the UOCAVA ballots on Friday the 17th. We uploaded and updated budget information in Cassell. We added 20 accounts for the capital projects and processing termination of benefits. We're working with the accountant preparing necessary documents to be submitted to DOLA regarding the 2023 budget. Jamie has coordinated with the attorney and is drafting up a contract for the auditor. We received 2 proposals and have interviewed Jamie Mathis, CPA, and Steve Fluick, CPA, per attached. Jamie and Steve are local, so they can come to the office and do the auditing in-house versus everything being scanned and done through email. So that's a plus to them. The last few years, we've had an auditor that was elsewhere and couldn't come in-house and kind of see that sort of stuff and put their hands on the paperwork.
In the past, that's typically been the manager that's made selection of the auditing firm, right? So in his absence, I assume you and Jamie are collaborating, you've done the interviews.
Jamie did sit in with Bruce a few weeks ago before his resignation to interview the first one. And I believe she's touched base through email with the second guy.
Okay, and so are you guys ready to make a selection at this point? Or-
Yes, sir.
Okay,
Yes.
and so you'll be presenting us with the contract for the next meeting?
Yes, sir. Yes,
Okay.
sir. And we have the proposals from both of them in your board packet.
Yes, yes.
Yes, sir. The attorney is working on the contract. So as soon as that's drawn up.
Okay,
Yes, sir. The plus side to the Jamie Mathis and Steve is Steve has experience inside of Cassell, which is a huge plus to have someone who has know-how in auditing inside of Cassell, especially since it's so new to Jamie and I as well. that would be a huge benefit as well as them being local and being able to be here. We signed the contract that was received, and we're gathering and submitting information to the payroll department to start processing payroll effective April 2023. In Bruce's absence, we have office staff has split up duties and just kind of trying to do what we need to do on current projects and keep y'all and everyone else in the know with deadlines, emails, that sort of stuff. Currently, all district manager emails are being forwarded to the office manager, and previous emails are being reviewed by Barb Ross, our record management personnel, to determine their urgency. There was quite a few emails, so that's been challenging over the last week or so.
How close are you getting through all of those emails?
I think we're through everything that was there, and everything current's being forwarded to Jamie. So I know she's overloaded between Bruce's email and her own coming in daily.
Okay.
So, I myself have been following up with Shaw Solar and gathering contact information and figuring out how we needed to proceed with that, and assisting Trevor with tree service bids. For security purposes, we changed all of the passwords, and remote access have been reset on all the computers, all the laptops, anything that could be remote, access has all been changed.
Very good.
And that's all of our report.
Okay, thank you, Shannon.
Thank you, Shauna, Jamie, and Barb. We appreciate your extra effort. We'll get through it.
Okay, Trevor, it's your turn.
And reach out to us if you need help. If you feel stressed, we're here to help you.
Thank you.
Trevor?
All righty. As far as our O&M activities for the month of February, continuing to plow snow. Our big days were like the 14th through the 15th and the 22nd through the 23rd. And then also continued work on a bunch of our snow plow trucks. We had a bent push frame that we replaced on one of our plows. Replaced the sander chain that had broke. We had a wiper motor that went out. And then we had some cutting edges that broke off as well. So a lot of work, continued work on our snowplow trucks to keep them running. Push back our snow banks and cut and pack, chipping roads and trying to keep the slush off as well. We ended up having a mainline freeze on Antelope Drive that we were able to, we ended up getting that taken care of. We had a recirc line that we didn't have turned on due to some previous work in the last year. But we got that taken care of. And we also replaced our blower #1 motor in our wastewater. It failed on us and we got that replaced and replaced with the new motor as well. And as our front end loader, we had some issues with our front end loader. They needed some work that we couldn't perform ourselves in the shop. So we had that sent over to John Deere and we got that taken care of and we got that back on the 6th of February. And we removed some snow off the mail stop roofs, like the edge of the mail stop roof and also at our office there as well, with all that snow. And we've been continuing to study for our water and wastewater certs when we can. And again, just keeping up with our equipment maintenance, our water and wastewater operations. Like Mark said, we've been adding some bugs to our system to try and help us with our ammonia problem. And we also did have a coolant leak on our backhoe that we got that taken care of as well. And been continuing to do meter swaps and our meter reads and rereads. And as far as the status of our fleet, everything's up and running. We got one dump truck down. We got a PTO issue that's still currently being worked on. We should have that fixed and up and running by the end of next week. And as far as our safety goes, we're good. We're still safety free. No incidences to report for the month of February.
Okay, Trevor, have you all started trying to patch some of the potholes now that you can get to the gravel?
Yes, sir. Yep. We actually,
Okay.
our guys did a bunch of that today. Tried to focus on like the big,
Okay.
the worst spots. We know there's still more out there, and we're going to continue to,
Okay.
work on getting those filled.
Okay, great, thanks. Unfortunately, some of this rain and snow the next few days is probably gonna put a damper on that.
It sure will.
Okay,
Thanks, Trevor. Appreciate the efforts. To note that potholes, it's like chasing your tail. So
Yes, sir. Yep.
appreciate what you guys do.
Yeah, man. Thanks.
okay, who has the financial report today?
I do not believe that we have one.
We don't have one, okay,
No, sir.
okay. Corey or Carissa, can you kind of get with Jamie or Shauna, Jamie and or Shauna this week and just check and see if you can come up with a status where things stand?
I can do it next week.
Okay,
That's not a problem. I can
yeah,
schedule
no,
something
that's
with
that's something the financial manager typically will brief, and I don't know, could you provide him the information or?
The financial,
Yeah, for financial,
I believe Jamie has provided her that
okay,
information.
well,
I'm not certain.
yeah.
I
don't want-
usually do. I just wasn't able to get it printed out.
Okay, so I'm gonna ask Chris and Corey just to check with you this week and take a look at it. Let's make sure everything looks good.
Absolutely.
Okay. There are a couple of notes here. I'll read what's in here. It says property tax collection year to date. We've received $292,301.84, the levied property tax of $704,709. As far as water pumping, we pumped 4,172,810 gallons between the four wells. That was 469,994 more gallons than in February
of last year.
February of this year.
No, more
Right.
than
Oh.
February of last year.
Oh, February 2022,
2022.
correct, thank you. Okay. I show that there is no unfinished business. In view of what we just discussed, I believe when we discuss the items that are on the agenda, the tree service contract, it probably is new business. Do we need to discuss that, or are we still in the process of evaluating that stuff?
I mean, I just saw these today.
Okay.
Yeah, we just got them.
Okay, so we really haven't had time to take a look at them yet. Okay, so that'll be in next.
I don't know what happened with cutting edge tree works, but I don't think they understood what was asked of them.
No.
I would agree.
Yep, I
Okay.
would agree with that.
Okay,
I can reach
well,
out to them and see if they can help us out with, giving us more of an hourly rate instead of a weekly rate. I specified an hourly rate. So, and we still have time for this too. Given all the snow, we still have some time. We
Okay,
can reach out to them.
so that's a future business, future discussion item then.
Next month, maybe.
Okay. The next thing we needed to talk about a little bit is we've been trying to put together a punch list. In Bruce's absence, just make sure that everybody has an idea of what things are on, need to be on our radar and that we're dealing with. So, all the board members have a copy. Trevor has a copy. I sent a copy to Jamie. I did not send one to you, Sean, I don't believe, but, okay. So do we want to try to go through in this meeting tonight and prioritize these? Carissa or Derek or Robin Corey weigh in on.
By all means, it's not in any order. What we have here, I mean, we could almost alphabetize it for that. But I did number all of them in what I think is most important. I asked everyone to pick their top 5. I definitely think we need to pick our top 10. And like it might have a 6A, B, C kind of thing. Depending on what needs immediate attention and direct on who's going to monitor it compared to the next couple months, let alone like the fish stocking or the tree service contract, which we can't do anyway until June, maybe. What do you think, Trevor? Something like that?
Yeah,
So,
yeah, that's about right.
yeah, but I'm ready to discuss it that way. But I think my top 10 are.
Okay, well, Carissa, do you want to go through first and tell us what your thoughts are? I'm not sure how is the best way to go through this, honestly, with 5 of us.
Well, wait, let's hold on just a second here. We've got a few things that are still, like we're working with Rick and a couple others and stuff, and we're kind of waiting for their input on some stuff. Is that
Right.
correct?
Well-
So, I mean, we're looking 3 to 4 weeks out before we actually get some things
But we
addressed.
can't wait 4 weeks for Rick to be addressing other items. I think this is gonna be one of those living things.
Okay,
And
but
we're
some
gonna
of
be
his stuff's on
constantly
here though, right?
reprioritizing. Pardon? Yes,
Some of
we
his
have-
stuff is on here.
yes, but obviously that, for the time being, we can't do much with that until we've got some input from Rick. So dam relining is not gonna happen right away. We need the engineering plans.
How about like the fish ordering and stuff like that? That was something that Bruce had mentioned as well, so that it could eat the grass that's been,
Yeah, is that on? here?
and that's something, well, it's on my list.
Well,
I
here's-
wrote it down.
Well, here's
It
the
was
thing with
that.
that too, if we end up under a consent order from the state, they're gonna make us drain that lake until it's fixed. So stocking it and then we don't fix it, we just kill the old fish.
I thought that the way that they were gonna fix it was a different type of dam, so that they didn't have to drain it.
Well, a copper dam is one of the options, but we don't know how much that would cost. And Rick can't get us a estimate until he has time to work it. Once he has some free time, he's gonna start looking at that. Because if it costs us $2 million to put a copper dam in versus draining it, that's probably something that we need to have that information before we can make that decision. He did say that it's not likely that anybody's gonna come down anytime soon and make us drain it. So we have a little bit of time on the dam, he said. One thing we do have to worry about is the lead surface line rule. You know, the state is mandating we check all water lines for lead. And we're gonna have to get on that. And I'm not sure what the deadline on that is. So that's gotta be a priority.
October 2024 will be the
Okay.
date of the violation if we don't complete it.
Okay. So that's
Say-
something we have to. Go
I'd
ahead.
like to say one other thing with the regards to the bigger projects. In my discussion with Jocelyn Brink, who was the person, our compliance officer that I had to talk to let them know that we were going to violate on ammonia. She did mention, or we got into a discussion about the possibility of a mechanical plant as well. And she did mention that there is quite a bit of federal funding out there now. And then also the state revolving fund has a match program as well. I'm going to assume that your grant writer probably knows about all of that. But I went ahead and read through some of the paperwork about that. And one of the things that would require some collaboration basically is they want those projects to be shovel ready. So that would be a Rick Johnson completing his his thing for something like the dam or something like the plant in order to submit for those kind of funds. So I think when you're thinking about that, it would probably be good to sit down with your grant writer and ask her if she's on that, in that same wheelhouse, so to speak.
Okay, you may have missed those comments earlier. I've asked that she be included with the accountant in speaking with Rick Johnson when we develop our financial plan to go forward. So she will be involved in that. Okay. So the two new snowplows that were approved in the budget, if we don't get those on order, we're not gonna get them before next snow season. So that's something we need to be taking a look at.
Those have not been ordered yet?
I have no idea. I don't know what the status is. So I don't know.
I believe from what I found in Bruce's office that they are ordered, but someone probably needs to circle back and
Okay.
I have all that
Is
information.
that something Trevor could look at or?
I would think so.
Okay, Trevor, if you could get with Shauna or Jamie, let's take a look at the status of the snowplows and see where they stand so that we can get kind of an update to the board next month.
Yep, sounds
I
good.
do believe Bruce had mentioned that it was going to be another year before we got them.
Well, does that mean he's ordered them or does that mean he can't order them yet? I'd like to kind of know.
Yeah, yep, we'll need to pursue that for sure and find out.
All right. The generators. Talking with Rick was really adamant that we go out and we do something about the generators. So I think that needs to be a priority, to get some bids for generators. And, finally, Bruce was promising people that some people were gonna have water at their lots so they could build this year. But he did nothing to order any materials or to start that process. Trevor, are you guys looking at that yet? Is there anything we can do to get the materials in? Is there any chance we can get a water main extension in this year?
Yeah, I think we can do short water main extensions. And the way he made it sound, several of them were just going to be service line and meter pits, which we can do.
Okay.
So I think for the most part we'll be okay. But as far as I need to get the exact people that he reached out to. And the only ones that come to mind that I can think of were the ones on timber, exactly where those ones were. And, you know, if we can extend off of our pumping main, which we wouldn't prefer to do, that could be a different story though. But I think for the most part, most of the people that he was talking to, I believe we can take care of.
I believe they haven't had any talk about them owing us a deposit or how that works. They need to be contacted before we order any supplies.
We usually do collect funds and we haven't collected anything.
Okay, Jamie, do you know who those people are so you can contact them so we can get that process going?
I could get with Shauna. Shauna, do you have any idea?
Yes, ma'am, I believe I can look through the letters that we sent out and that I collected of people who said yes. Me and Bruce had talked about it enough that I think I can kind of sort through that and I can get with Trevor on that.
Okay, if you and Trevor or Jamie can collaborate on that, make sure that we've got a plan, so we know we're gonna move forward on that.
Yes,
would
sir.
be a good-
To the water main extension, how short of a run are you doing? Are we doing 40, 60, 100 feet?
I don't know.
And then are we just willy-nilly installing this stuff or are we going off engineered drawings?
Nothing's been brought up to me about engineered drawings.
Willy-nilly.
How have they done that in the past? Has Rick provided a plan or?
That is not my understanding.
Okay,
It was my understanding that it was kind of up to the OM supervisor and
fine,
the
that's what-
infrastructure that's already there, correct, Trevor?
Yeah, yeah,
my
that's correct.
understanding.
That's how it was done in the past. We just looked for the best route on metro property to lay the line in them. Is that
As far
correct?
as I know, yes, sir. Yep.
Okay. Right. And then we've got these things going on for the solar panel. There is a contract on that, Carissa, that says, you know, we were supposed to have the whole thing up and running by now, but both the solar panel side and us have had trouble getting some of the supplies. So we need to get that up and running so that we start realizing the benefits. So those are the things that jump out at me that we really need to be keeping a close eye on. You know, kind of a first priority thing. I don't know, Carissa, Corey, Robin, the rest of you, what do you think?
Yeah, I'd love to add also, and I'm hoping it's not too much work for Shauna and Jamie. I'm sorry we're dumping on you. But do we know if we filed the Forest Service agreement? Remember during a board meeting, we all talked about how much we wanted to get reimbursed from them. If we have an agreement with them, then they won't have to look for us maybe on a Sunday afternoon to take water from the lake to possibly save land or houses. I never heard anything about the Forest Service agreement after we agreed upon, you know, the stipulations we had in there. Does anyone
Correct.
else remember?
That's on our list to follow up as well.
Okay,
So you're gonna contact the fire department then?
Yeah, we'll follow up.
Okay, thank you. So Chris or Derek, or either you two, are there any others that you think need to be a number one type priority? All of us,
I'm
we need to
saying,
keep working as we can, but
yeah, I'm saying pretty soon we need to look at that grader lease. It's due in June, but you don't want to be looking at it June 1st. So we can maybe put that a month out, the lease on the grader.
oh yeah, somebody needs to be working that, yeah, for getting bids. Trevor, is that something you can do?
Yeah, we've been working with John Deere currently, so
Okay, did you get any bids from CAT or anybody else?
I'm still waiting to hear back from Cat.
Okay. All right.
Trevor, we're gonna also be needing a roller pretty quick here too.
Yep, and that'll be something that I'll bring up with John Deere as well.
Okay,
Is that a lease?
Yes.
it's a
That's what we-
rental.
Rental?
Yeah, we've done a rental on
Yeah,
it.
there's a difference between lease and rental. What's a rental?
Okay,
Bear Creek Evacuation Road,
Right?
the Bear Creek Evacuation Road.
Okay, I've never been there. I have no idea what the road looks like.
Our evacuation road pretty much is useless
It is.
unless we get that one fixed, because we'll bottleneck. If we can't get through theirs, then ours is pretty much pretty, but that's about it.
There's certain cars here that can't make it down Bear Creek.
You're saying Bear Creek's main road?
Yes.
So what are we?
Bruce was talking about getting an IGA in place in Forest Lakes, improving
Assisting,
that road, so our fire escape road is not four-wheel drive only.
Trevor, have you physically seen the road?
You know, I haven't, I know that we've taken care of everything on our property. But as far as getting the Bear Creek Road maintenance on it and fixing that road, I haven't heard anything.
Okay, well, we better put that on our list of things to figure out how we're going to address that. Okay,
and that is on the list here.
okay. Oh, it was already on the list?
Yeah, it says Bear Creek evacuation road status. been there.
Oh, I see. Okay.
And Mark, you had added the Sawyer contract. I don't know what that regards.
I'm sorry.
The Sawyer contract.
That's for
the
tree.
tree cutters.
Oh, is that the trees?
Yeah,
Okay,
we discussed that earlier. We need to get that going. That's not
Okay.
critical. That's something we can work, that we don't have to worry about it being
Okay.
immediate. So, yeah. But they are already evaluating those contracts. So when they make a recommendation, then we'll get a contract drawn up. So. Anybody else?
No, I'm
Okay, if anybody has any ideas on how we approach that Bear Creek evacuation road thing, I know that may have been something Bruce was talking about. I think it's a good idea. I'm not sure how to proceed on that one. So if you guys got ideas.
does the developer still own all that, or has it been?
I believe it's been subdivided out. There is at the beginning, one owner of a large parcel, but I think for the most part, it's all individually owned.
Wasn't Bruce also gonna work with Upper Pine for like additional grant money, maybe for them or something?
That is my understanding that he had mentioned that he was gonna see if there was any sort of grant money that could be offered to the Bear Creek. I don't know if you call it development or what,
Subdivision or whatever.
but I do remember him saying that.
What I
actually live on Bear Creek, so I can take some pictures of the road if y'all would like, just for your reference.
I've driven over there and you know, have a scout four-wheeler vehicle. It's good.
It's all good.
So that's something I think that obviously needs to be addressed. I don't know if is that a top priority right now? Is that something we?
Well, if we have a
manage to
fire, we
come in?
can't get out. So, yeah, I think that kind of moves back up to the higher, top 10 anyway.
no,
Okay.
I disagree. We're not gonna need it before June. We got a lot of moisture here.
Well, that's true. We do have a lot of moisture.
I've got it
but
figured
that-
out by June. So to me, it's the second tier.
Everything else needs to be done by June. Is that what
I
we're
mean,
saying?
All
No.
these things need to be done. Okay, he's left
Yeah.
us in a bind with these things. But I'm saying not top 10.
Well, we can work whatever we can work, you know, it's just that we need to not lose sight if there's conflicts of our time. I'm open to ideas on how we can address the Bear Creek Road. If Bruce is working with somebody, I have no clue who he's working with or who owns the road. I'm not gonna be here in 2 months, so I don't think I'm the right guy to work it. If somebody has ideas or contacts, then forward them and we'll see if we can come up with a way to address it.
I know Bruce was talking to the lawyers, so maybe the lawyer
To
might
the
have some,
attorney, to Paul.
yeah,
Okay.
might have some information.
I'll ask Paul if he has any information on it then.
Paul and I think the Upper Pine, I think both of them. Did you have some?
Paul, I don't know, as was who Bruce was working with.
Valdez.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm sorry, what was that?
Paul Valdez from the fire. department,
Yeah, he's with Upper Pine River. No,
Not the attorney.
he's with Upper Pine River.
I don't know.
Yes.
Paul.
I was just wondering who answers questions in the meeting chat, or if those are ever answered. Just-
Yes, we
They are-
try to, but again, we're trying to get a little discipline in here. In the past, we just constantly be interrupted with those. I'll try to
Okay,
take, I'll try to take a
first
shot,
time.
try to take a shot at the end of the meeting.
Okay.
Get some through some of that. So,
So his February 23rd email to us said that he's speaking to the fire department regarding the emergency evacuation road. Discussion
Okay.
centered around improving Bear Creek Road and whether FLMD could or would do the work on the road. She spoke with our attorney to see that was even legal. The answer was yes, but there needs to be an agreement in place with the property owners.
She's reading an email, I believe.
Okay,
February 23rd.
Hey, and Mark, this is Derek. It's come to my attention, and I could be way off here, but there's some history to this that predates probably a lot of us, and that is the private property issue with that Bear Creek or that evacuation route. And so, yeah, I think talking to the attorney, if the attorney has the background, then great. But I feel like there's some other secondary and tertiary issues here that are kind of that are sticky, and so we need to make sure that that's all in line too before we proceed.
I'll start by talking to this Monday, and if anybody else has any ideas or contacts, let us know. So, okay. What, is there any other discussion on this current list then? Anybody feel like we're missing something big, Robin?
No, it all needs to be done. I agree. And it sounds like a lot of it can't be done until Rick's available.
Yeah, a lot of the big stuff can't be done until we got Rick's done. Excuse me.
I think it looks fine, Mark. I think a lot of the major issues we've touched on. I assume I'm looking at the most recent punch list, but the other ones I can tell are just not as urgent. I think we've covered the big ones.
Okay. All right, so for the time being, this is where I'm going to try to put my focus. You guys help me. We will modify this list as things come to our attention and add stuff. And this is going to have to be a living list. We're just going to have to be emailing this thing around. Did somebody want to take lead on maintaining this list? Maybe somebody that's going to be with the next board? Or you two? I don't want to dump too much on the two of you, but you're willing to do it, Corey? Okay.
Okay.
So,
What I can do for you, Corey, is I've taken notes. I'll put this in order. And then we could have maybe another column that check it off as we go. And then have more information on the status. Maybe include Trevor and Jamie and Shauna on the status, and they can change the date of the revisions and then send it back out to us. Does that work?
Yeah.
okay, good.
Thanks.
Thanks.
All right, I'll get it to you guys tomorrow.
Okay. With regards to an interim manager. So we've had one unsolicited volunteer to be the manager. And there could be some pros and probably some cons. We've also been told that Derek knows somebody that would be a good interim manager. Our attorney has told us he knows a couple of people that work with DOLA, and they would be excellent candidates as an interim manager. Do we have any thoughts on whether or not we would want to bring Jim in, or whether or not we need to compete this, or right now, I don't have any resumes or anything on the other candidates. So does anybody have any thoughts on how to proceed on that?
If you're gonna hire an interim manager, I think we need to go out to public and let other people.
Yeah, solicit input, solicit people to put in for it. That's probably the fair way to do it. It's not going to be the quickest way, but then it may get us a better interim manager. So.
And right now, I have the utmost faith in our office staff that they can handle this until we get this sorted out.
A lot of stuff on this list, and we're having to wait for Rick, and
Well,
It'd be nice
I'm
to have
talking about
somebody that
sorted
knows
out
what's going
for the
on.
interim manager, not,
that's what we're talking
not,
about.
yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Somebody that knows what's going on.
Until we
around
get
here.
an interim hire, that the office staff can.
So I mean, if we go outside of here and we hire somebody for the interim, we're gonna have to train them, right? I mean, we're already gonna have the new district manager coming in, who's gonna need training. And then you're gonna do this intern,
Yeah.
because potentially the one, if we offer, well, it's gonna depend upon the next meeting that we have. That being said.
So I hear that you're voting in favor of Jim.
I am.
Okay. Chris and Derek, I need you guys to weigh in.
Well, so I talked to the SDA, Small District Association. And I said, is there a description for an interim manager? And after they discussed it on their end, they said it's the same description you have for your manager. I think it's more important than someone just knocking on the door and said, I can help you out. This person has to have experience and skills and willing to know it's just a partial, part-time, short term. I don't know about anybody else except just one person, so I can't comment on the other people. And I think it also depends on what we discuss in our closed session on how fast we agree and get a contract and an agreement on a new district manager.
So to clarify, SDA told you they have to meet the same requirements as the long-term manager.
No, they don't have to meet those requirements. The job description is the same.
Oh, right, okay.
And I'm inferring that just the first paragraph of our job description, do those people that we're thinking of have those qualities and qualifications?
Well, and it's also been suggested that maybe we could utilize volunteers and stuff for us. Like, I don't know of anybody that's lining up to volunteer, but
Yeah, I don't know if I like that idea. It's kind of piggyback what Chris has said. I think, you know, in thinking about this position, it comes down to, you know, where are we at now? And so it's the best fit. And if that skill set for an interim can address, you know, the punch list we just talked about, some budgetary things, and if the skill set of the interim can meet and align with what we need, I think that's fine. You know, the few names I've put forward are people with a very comprehensive background of running not just special districts and municipalities, they've run counties, they've run, you know, much bigger types of organizations. And as far as the name that stepped forward, I'm not sure what that person's full resume is, so I feel like I can't really speak to that. But I feel like you know, my criteria would be based on what we need right now. If we're looking at June 1 as kind of that timeline, what's the best person based on their skill set? Can they come in and address the things that need to be addressed right now until June 1? I think it just comes down to that.
I know that the two candidates that our attorney mentioned, they have been county and city managers also. So they've had a lot of experience running an organization from all aspects. So what I think I'm hearing is Chris and Derek saying we need to look at some of those other resumes. And I hear Corey saying that also.
Yeah.
Is that what I'm hearing?
and how many
Chris and
resumes have
Derek?
you gotten?
Sorry,
How many resumes have we gotten so far?
we haven't gotten any, so
None.
we need to go request
It
the
hasn't
resumes.
really even been advertised either.
Yeah, well, I don't know if we necessarily have to go through an advertising process.
Yeah.
Maybe,
For an
we
interim?
need to clarify that with SDA. But I know that when we hired Keith, we just asked him to keep working part-time for us. And there was never anything advertised. It was a convenient,
Yeah, when they first hired Keith, that was what they did, is ask him before he.
and then after he retired, then they just asked him also.
to come
Whether or
back.
not they followed the proper process, they don't know.
I don't either. I don't either.
Well, and Mark, it's,
Huh?
I was gonna say, it's safe to assume that some of these names we have in mind may not want to do it. Is that accurate to say?
Right.
So,
Yeah, we don't know.
yeah.
So
So at this point, we're kind of the headhunters trying to find somebody who might fit
Let me
those
talk-
criteria.
let me talk to SDA. I've got to make sure that we're doing this right. And I believe she's probably going to suggest we get some resumes. So we'll have to do what we have to do. We'll give it a short time frame. Get them to us within a week so we can make a decision. We may have to have another session in between so that we can make that decision. So
Jamie, do you remember when we were looking for, after Keith, the new district manager. Didn't we have something on our website? A want ad kind of thing on our website?
For an interim?
No, when we were looking directly for the next district manager, wasn't there a want ad on our website?
Yes, yes.
So if we can do that for a district manager, we definitely could put a want ad up on our website for an interim district.
That's correct.
So we can start there.
Before you do that, let me talk to SBA
Okay,
and then I'll get back with you. The thing is, if we do that, then we're gonna have to tell the contacts. If they're interested, look at our website and send in your resume. And again, it's gonna have to be short turnaround. We've got to get something done quickly so that the new board is not left struggling with this. So that would be the one advantage of bringing Jim on board, but let me talk to SBA. I want to make sure we do this right.
okay.
So I've got the action on that. Okay, the next item under new business is, I was approached by one of the guys in the maintenance shop. He had talked with Bruce about getting a certification for road maintenance. And so he went and got it. According to him, Bruce promised him that if he got the certification, he would get a bump and raise like we do for the water and sewer certifications. And then he talked to Bruce after he got it, and Bruce said, let me think about it. So in thinking about that, after that was brought to my attention, I believe since, water, sewer, and roads are the three main functions that we provide here. And with the number of people that constantly complain about roads, I think knowing that we're doing the best job we can on them is probably a good idea. So I would recommend
There's the policy.
in the absence of a manager here, I think we always have to vote on policy changes anyway.
Did he pay for the certification himself, or did we, Forest Lakes, pay for that? Do you know?
I don't know.
We did.
Forest Lakes paid for the certification, but I think we paid for water certs and CDLs and stuff too, if I'm not mistaken.
For all
There's
certifications?
some more changes that need to be made to this.
Yeah, the policy will have to be changed if we do that.
Yes, and that's why I wanted to discuss that. And I think it's a good idea. Somebody else mentioned we may want a safety certification, but nobody has given me any information on that. As a minimum, I want to see if the board is in favor of adding that as one of the incentives in our policy.
A safety or the
No,
road?
I'm talking about the road thing for now.
Is this certification something you have to continue to get education credits on to keep it?
It's not my understanding that you have to continue like the TUs, like for the water and the sewer. I don't believe it was that sort of certification. It was an in-depth program. But I do not know all the ins and outs of it.
It'd be nice to have like more information about the certification, like how many hours were, required.
If the policy is going to be modified, we need to get specific. And if it's a specific certification, we need to call out a specific certification.
Yeah.
We don't have that information, but I would like to know if everybody's in favor of having certification for roads.
Oh, yeah.
And then we can identify the proper certification and we can take care of it. I feel badly that one of the employees has been left hanging because Bruce made a promise to the employee. And then that's not been followed through on. So I want to start moving down this road and see what the board thinks. So you're nodding your head, Corey. You believe it would be a good thing to add also?
Yes.
Okay. Robin, do you have any feelings?
I'm leaning yes, but I'd like to see what it actually entails. What can we expect?
Well, do you think a certification would be good? Not necessarily the certification that was obtained. I mean, don't you think it's good for people that are training on how to maintain gravel roads?
Absolutely.
That's what I'm talking about here.
I get where you're coming from. Certain training, no, other training, yes.
So like snow plowing and stuff. I mean,
Right now, I'm not wanting to put every kind of training they could possibly get in here. I think there is certain training that's critical. Water certifications and wastewater certifications, those are critical. And I really think
Well,
that
and
the
we have
training
to-
doing the roads is critical.
well, there's rules and laws for the water and the waste.
Correct.
Those have to meet certain levels and stuff. Are we going to have something for the levels with the roads? Like,
Well,
what's going to enforce, how you
well,
gonna
whether
enforce
there's a
that?
state law that says how you have to do the road, it's
There's
still
not.
an irritant if we're not doing it right. It still creates problems for residents. It's,
Totally agree.
I feel like the potential issue is that we're going to struggle to find, and maybe we won't struggle to find, but we could struggle to find a one size fits all criteria for certification, like Robin is alluding to. You know, some things are state mandated, some things are, you know, legally required, some things are not. So those are the finer details that it may come down to. I mean, I'm from an industry where, you know, you encourage people to go get more education and you're paid for that. At the same time, you know, I expect a doctor to, you know, not take my appendix out using 1968 technology, but you know, he or she doesn't get paid more for that because they know the 2023 method kind of thing. So it's, you know, I've been like Robin, I would tend to lean that way, but I think we may struggle with this one size fits all criteria for what counts as a certification or proper certification to warrant that kind of increase.
Carissa,
Well, I'm looking at it from a different angle. We are honoring Bruce's promises to lesser issues. We're getting main lines for people and pipes and etc. I think he promised this person. I think it has to be honored. I think that's the simple end of it.
Can that not be a merit?
so you're talking about giving this individual a raise based on what these guys get when they get a certification, just because of this one promise. But as far as changing policy, I'm hearing Derek and Robin say that we really probably need to have a better idea of what we would require before we write that into policy. And
So do we know how many certifications are out there? Trevor, you have any idea on, you know, the water, the sewer, road certifications?
I know there's several for water and wastewater.
there's
And that's all
4 in the
based.
policy. There's 4 in the policy right now. It's all water and wastewater.
Okay,
There's nothing for roads.
Yep, correct.
So,
And as far as I know, that, I mean, that training that he took was for maintaining roads.
and I understand he got a very good grade, which he was proud of.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, who provided the training?
Ground Force, I believe was.
It was a private company.
Yes,
It was not a state,
correct,
okay, or anything like that.
correct.
Here's what I'm gonna propose. I'm gonna propose that we look at adding this to the policy down the road. When we get an interim manager or manager in here, we can discuss that with the new manager. I would like to see a road certification in here, but I don't think that we necessarily know yet what certification that would be. So, I'm gonna propose that, Trevor, maybe you can help us with this. You guys can do some research, find out what kind of certifications are out there, who provides them, maybe get a syllabus from some of these trainings so that we can make an evaluation and get the best one. So that we can use that to incentivize the operators to get the training.
Get with me tomorrow, Trevor.
Will do.
And so you brought up the other point, Chris, that Bruce had made a promise to an employee. Personally, I think that's a valid point. I would like to see that he's not left hanging because of a broken promise. I would be in favor of giving him that 50 cent an hour raise.
And As a merit?
as a merit, because he went out and did this. It was kind of his initiative to go find the road training.
I would like to make a motion to grant a 50-cent raise to the said employee that went got the certification.
Okay,
Second,
okay, and I got a second, Robin, Derek, you in favor of that?
Oh. In my heart, yes. In my head, I'm a little stuck. I just, somebody had a good point, this promise was made. Well, I mean, were any of us in the room and that was promised? I just want to make sure we're on solid ground as far as that goes. It's as long as we commit to, again, having some pretty well-established criteria for these things in the future, I think I'm fine to go along with it for now, with this particular circumstance. But I think we need to make sure we're, because typically what happens is, if you go and do a certification course, or you go get some PD, professional development, and you pay for it by yourself, that's where that raise comes in over time. Of course, you're reimbursed over time. The fact the district paid for it, I think that's another thing that kind of sticks a little bit in my head. But no, I'll vote aye this time. I want to make sure that we stick to some pretty strict criteria moving forward.
Yeah, and I agree. I think we need some strict criteria in the future. I still think roads are probably the thing that most residents complain most about. And the fact that we had an employee willing to go out and go through the trouble of going through a training course, I think a 50-cent merit increase is warranted.
I think
So-
right now, that's the only way you can do it, because in our policy, that is not recognized.
That's correct.
So I think if you're going to acknowledge that the employee went above and beyond, then it's a merit.
Yeah, but.
But in
Trevor,
the
this-
future, it does need to be addressed.
Yes, this is not intended to set a precedent. Anybody can go out training and get training they want, and then they get a raise. It's gonna have to be in policy, and before anybody else gets a road certification, we want to make sure it's the right one.
And as I recall, Daryl said he got trained on, as far as maintaining roads, kind of creating that crown to get that grade on each side of the road.
Yes,
And I think that's something that needs to happen anyway. I think we'll see a lot of improvement in the roads, as far as how often you have to maintain them and getting those rivers of runoff that run through the road. Sometimes if we have a crowned road, I think we're gonna minimize some of the problems we see even right now.
yeah,
There
and
should be a crown, yeah.
I totally agree, and so I also agree with that, so it's unanimous, we will process that, so Shauna and Jamie, if you would ensure that he gets and make it retroactive, the completion of the course, which I believe was a month ago. And beyond that, Trevor, we'll wait for you to get back with some information regarding the available courses, and so that we can make the best determination.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay,
And just so you guys know, I did also hear Bruce say that as well.
okay, so you
any
can-
sort of training.
You said that.
Yep, any sort of training that we get, that we would receive,
Okay.
compensation, or
Yeah.
raise, yep.
But
That's
you
good,
heard what
Trevor.
said,
I appreciate
right?
that.
You did hear what I said, just because Bruce said that. Now, you
Yep.
guys are not gonna go out and just start getting a bunch of training that may or may not be
Yep.
value added. So
Understood.
right now, it's gonna be what's in the policy. And if you guys want to propose a change to the policy, then we'll address it that way if there's training that we believe is pertinent.
Yep.
Okay,
Sounds good. I just wanted to clarify that I also heard Bruce say that as well.
I appreciate that, Trevor. Thanks.
okay. And the potential audit, we've already addressed that. You guys are already working on contracts, so that
Yes,
would
sir, the
be
attorney.
part of the contract assigned next meeting. Okay. And the tree service contract, we've addressed that, that's being worked. Okay. Are there any comments?
Real quick.
Yeah.
The tree service contract, when do we need to have that in place by?
I'd say we got at least 2 months. I feel like in the past, it's been, I want to say like June before we ever started having them come out and cut trees in the past.
He is correct on that, Corey. When I did the research, the first invoice came in like late June from the previous gentleman.
Okay.
Thank you.
Mhm.
All
Hey,
right.
Mark,
Yes,
do we have a moment? Can I introduce some new business or just a new discussion point real quick?
sure. That's where we're at right now, so.
Okay, and I'll apologize ahead of time because this is a bit unorthodox since I'm the one who's kind of always chirping about a well-organized meeting and not going off script, but we have a gentleman on the line here, Jim Ehlers, who's a resident I spoke to a few times, and I appreciate Jim's approach. He emailed all of us about some concerns, some budgetary concerns around the mailboxes, especially. But Jim and I had a few good conversations. Jim's actually a pilot, and so it turns out that the FAA doesn't really like when pilots are on their cell phones in the cockpit, watching board meetings. So Jim had to wait to access the meeting, but he's here now, and I just want to afford him the opportunity to say a few words and express just kind of things that he would have been here for at the public comment period, but was not able to do so. So, Jim, are you on? Can you hear me okay? Or
Yeah, here, I'll flip my camera on too.
oh, excellent.
You got me all right?
Gotcha.
Okay. Yeah, hello, everybody. Yeah, so I've been on for the last 30 or 40 minutes or so, and this has actually been great. Before I talk too much about the mailbox, I want to just talk about kind of my history with the Metro District. I really haven't paid much attention the last couple of years, and unfortunately, I don't say this with any pride. I'm like a lot of residents, you just kind of pay your bill and hope everything works out. But I was involved more in the past, used to come to meetings pretty regularly. And, I don't want to go into a lot of history, but there was just, the Metro District doesn't necessarily have the best history. So what I've noticed in the last couple of years, and this is definitely from a view from afar, is that there does seem to be a lot more transparency. Things seem to be moving, I think, in the right direction in general. So I want to definitely give a shout out for all the work that all of you have done, even though there's probably an awful lot of work you've done that I've not even noticed because I haven't stayed attached to it. But the reason that I brought the mailbox thing up is we know we've been raising fees. And one of the things that, and this is, a lot of this is coming from my viewpoint, but there's an issue with, and I'm speaking pretty globally here. So from my perspective, it's kind of a trust and verify thing because the history that I know that I've had with the Metro District in the past, and I don't want to bring that forward. I'm not trying to paint that on you guys necessarily. But I've gone through all the budget years past, and I know how some things are paid for. And I use the mailbox specifically because it's probably the easiest thing in the budget. It's not like roads or sewers. That's very complicated, a lot of equipment, a lot of manpower, and so forth. The mailbox, on the other hand, is not necessarily that case. And so when we built that structure, we paid less than $70,000 for it. We paid $1.50 a month. The agreement at the time was that we would pay that until that structure was paid for, and it was paid for years ago. And then we raised it to $250. We kept I think it was $150. We raised it to $250, and now we've raised it to $5, which I think is something like a 400% increase. And so if you do the math, we're collecting easily over $50,000 a year just to maintain that mailbox. And so from a resident standpoint, my question is, why do we need $50,000 a year to maintain a building we paid $70,000 for? And I know we bought mailboxes. I know we've done some things like that, but that doesn't even come close to coming up to $50,000. And those are one-time charges. Now, I'm not here to complain about the money. That's not my point. My point is to have credibility. So that when I look at like, hey, I trust you guys, you're spending the money, your charges what you need. If you need more money for roads, which I know has been an issue, or sewer, by all means, raise those fees. What I don't want to see as a resident is that you collect a bunch of money in the mailboxes and then say, well, we're not using the mailboxes, we'll just stick it over in the roads or the sewer. If you need money in roads and sewers, charge it, but only charge us for what you need for each item. And the reason why your accounting is done the way it's done, and you know this already, this is all dictated through the Secretary of State's office in Colorado, which is the purview that the Metro District falls under because you're a taxing authority. So there's a lot of transparency rules, et cetera, that you guys are very much aware of. So, but with the fees being raised, it kind of got me up again to say, okay, I need to start asking questions. Like, it just doesn't make sense. So the mailbox was easy. We can go through each thing, and I'm not going to do all that right now. So I kind of want to hear one, I guess, two questions. One, what was the logic between raising it to $5? In other words, what do you intend to spend that money on? Because you had to get the money, I'm assuming that number didn't come out of thin air. And if you can show that, hey, yeah, we got this grand plan, we're gonna have this enclosed heated mailbox building in 5 years, great, awesome. Okay, but if that's not the case.
We just have 5 minutes to talk, so I got
Okay,
your
so
questions.
Corey
and I were on the budget since about October. We've met over 50 hours to go over the budget, and there is a line item for the mailboxes. I never answered your second time because we've had this problem with the district manager issues. So I have not gotten to looking at the budget on what we have for that $50,000 for the year. When I get that, I will get back to you, I promise. We've had just more pressing issues than $5 a month for the mailbox. So I will get you those numbers. I will get you our logic. Corey and I, we discussed this. All the raises that we did in the fees were not easy for us because we pay those too as residents. So as soon as we can get our head above water, trying to get these other issues done, I will get you those numbers and our logic.
And
let me be clear.
1 second, Jim.
You go ahead.
One of the things I did ask Bruce, the previous manager prior to us, was a breakdown of what they were spending their dollars on, and that was not provided. So
we will get that to you. I think that, I just want to say, Jim, I think that was a valid question. I appreciate that. I'm sorry we haven't got you an answer up to this point, but we're still pursuing the answer on that because we want to make sure we're doing it right also.
Yeah, and here's the thing, just to be clear, I know this is a low priority. I know there's this manager thing and there's a lot of other things going on there way more important, so I'm not trying to take away what little time you have, okay? So I want to be really clear about that. I'm not here to just beat you guys up and say, why are you charging us all this money or anything like that? That's not where I'm coming from. What I want to see, my goal here is that as we move forward, as you get your head above water, as Carissa said, and hopefully get out in front of all these other things that we've got going on, that I want to see the Metro District succeed. I want to see it to where the residents are happy with it, with whatever they're paying and the transparency and everything's accountable, et cetera, those sort of things. So that's kind of where I'm coming from. And I'm not asking you to make this a first priority. I'm just trying to stick it out there. And I know there's a lot of other stuff you get going on as well. So I'm not, I don't want to.
And I just want to assure you, we've tried very hard to do due diligence going through the budget. We found a lot of problems with the budget, last year's budget when we went through this year to put this year's together, and we tried to make it better. So hopefully it's one step better, and hopefully next year it's better again. If we find out that that is the wrong fee to be charging, then next year's budget needs to reflect that. So appreciate you bringing it to our attention.
Okay, yeah, thanks. And I appreciate whatever you get me here in the future.
Yeah. Hey, Mark, real quick too, one thing Jim and I discussed, I think this is something that the next board, I think, should really look hard at. And that is, if you look at, City of Durango and other municipalities, it's not uncommon to have, independent boards, commissions, those kind of things. That gets obviously real difficult, say for the personnel committee, but I would invite, for the sake of transparency, it wouldn't bother me at all to have, whether it's recreation committee, budget committee, to have, and people can formally apply, informally apply, whatever it is, but to be an extra set of eyes, because, because Carissa and Corey are having, spend a lot of time in these meetings, and God bless them for it. But I think having just some independent eyes on it as well, I think could go a long way to kind of repairing that reputation. And again, I'm a history teacher, so I'm always looking back to the past to understand the present, but it's not to dredge it up, but I think, unfortunately for the board, and this is I've lived here now 6 years. I've been on the board now for almost 3 years. Our reputation, we can't seem to outrun it. So I feel like the more transparency we have, the better. And of course, there's always going to be some issues that the public just can't have eyes on for various reasons. But I would invite the next board to seriously consider, commissions or boards, whatever it is, to people to be involved. Because when I first came on the board, and this is when COVID hit, I remember those first few meetings that were just Zoom online. We had 45, 50 people coming to a meeting. Now, if we get 8, we're patting ourselves in the back like, hey, look at the turnout. We have 8 people. So, I think to increase transparency, even though people have plenty of opportunity to access meetings, either live or recordings, that kind of thing. And always comes after the fact, criticism, because nobody's paying attention, which I got a short patience with that stuff. But I think the more transparency we can create, and having just extra set of eyes, it just lends more credibility, as Jim said. And I think just that reputation is going to improve.
And we have done it before, Derek.
Yeah.
I appreciate the comments and, Robin and Corey, they'll be on the next board. They can take that under advice. I don't think we have time to incorporate something like that by the next meeting. And then the meeting after that's the new board. So I think that's an issue for the new board to take up, but I like the suggestion. Is there anybody else that had something in the chat there that we need to be answering any questions on before we close the session?
Nope.
I think so.
Okay. Did you guys have anything else?
Can you scroll up on the chat or? I've just gotten a couple.
Disbursements.
Keep going. Yeah.
How far up?
Keep going. I think it was about the pond or the lake, however.
I think I saw a few folks who had just questions about the lake in general.
So I don't know, Kendall.
Earlier on, someone says, what's wrong with the lake? Nothing's wrong with the lake. Hopefully we'll get enough
Oh, right
snow
there.
melt to, we never drain the lake. I don't know where that came from. What's wrong is around the lake is we have an original pipe at the bottom of our lake underneath the dam. The dam is in great shape. We don't know the condition of the pipe that is used to let
We
our
did know
water.
the condition of the pipe. We've had it looked at and we know it needs to be replaced, but it's not urgent. It's not in an imminent failure condition. It's just something that in order to maintain the dams in proper state, we are required to reline the outlet pipe. And that is a relatively simple process once the water is gone. And we either have to drain the lake or build a coffer dam. And that is a process coming. And we're not sure which way that's going to be done at this point. So, okay. Okay, anybody else? Any other comments?
I had several things that I gave to them, but they looked at them, so.
As
No,
for
really,
like,
sure.
as for like training, I know like they do flagging certifications, TSA or not TSA, but ASA, they do flagging certifications. And that's a maintenance, road maintenance kind of thing.
My question basically is if we want to align ourselves, we could see what the county and what the city of Bayfield does for
Sure, that'd be a good
certifications.
place to go out.
That'd be a
That's-
starting point.
Yeah. Trevor, did you catch that? When you're doing your research, you might ask the county and, talk to Corey about
Corey.
their certifications.
Right.
That would be helpful as a data point. Okay. Appreciate that.
Also volunteerism. I mean, it sounds like.
Not for the manager, but volunteers to look at for quotes or just support.
Just, you guys are gonna get hammered here. You're already hammered. Okay? In the shop of short people. My thought is there's some places that just people from the community could volunteer. Doesn't have to be liability issues or whatever, to step in, and I don't know, I even offered to Bruce a couple of times on different things, and his concern was liability.
Right.
But there are people like myself that's got huge backgrounds and a lot of stuff that we could be helpful and not cost the community a bunch of money.
Yeah.
Just something to think of.
It is, and I think Derek's suggestion in particular is a valid one. I think when we're working on things that people need transparency on, that helps them see that, we've got members of the community looking at this stuff too. I mean, we're all members of the community.
Right.
We were voted to have the community's best interest, and we attempt to do that. But there's always people that doubt that you necessarily have the right interests in mind, that you don't have an agenda. And our eyes can only see a certain subset of things.
Right.
Other eyes, the more eyes you have looking at stuff, the better it is. So I appreciate your comments. Again, I think that's something to look at for the next board. I think at this point, it's too late in the game.
Sure.
The three of us that are leaving the board. We've got one more meeting, so, but I do appreciate. the
And thank
comments.
you for what you guys have done that are leaving the board. I know it's been a pain. I've been on 5 different boards.
Yeah.
They're not fun.
No, they're not.
You have a lot of ungrateful people, a lot of uninformed people. That my suggestion is to, if you got a question, go to the source. Don't, you know,
Yeah. And we continually try to beat that band. You know, we have friends
right?
that, you know, we tell them where it's at, and then 2 weeks later, they came back and they're all upset about something that they heard on social media. No, that's not quite right. And it's like, oh, okay. And then 2 weeks later, they come back again. Some people are just prone to that. They're susceptible to that, and that's unfortunate. Social media is a dangerous thing. You've got to be careful how you use it. You've got to be very cautious about what you take from it, but.
Social media is the bane of our existence.
And I appreciate the comments. So,
Yes, thank you.
okay, disbursements.
I'd like to make a motion to approve February's disbursements dated 2/1 to 2/28/2023 in the amount of $161,389.39.
Second,
Okay, Chris, the second did it. All in favor of that? Robin's in favor. Derek, you good with that?
In favor?
Just by way of a little bit of explanation, there were a couple big ticket items on this one. There was a huge check that went to LPEA with regards to our connection to the solar. So that was one of the big expenses this month. Okay, with that, I show the time to be 8:43.
I move that we adjourn.
Yep, okay. And I'll vote in favor. Robin's in favor, Derek.
In favor?
Okay.
How are you guys gonna handle your after closed meeting thing, or someone gonna stay on?
We're going to record it, but nobody is going to stay online. They will all be locked out. It's just the board.
That's what I'm saying. The board will stay online.
Yes.
Correct.
Very good.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. And by the way,
Adam,
thanks for
thank
this.
you.
Appreciate it. Well.
Thank you, everybody, for coming.
Thanks, Steve.
Yeah.
Appreciate you coming in, guys.
Yeah.
Thank you.
There's a separate Zoom link for exec session, right?
I think she's just gonna get rid of everybody else. And
Oh.
it's just gonna be Derek and I, and then who's left in the room.
Okay.
I gotta get something to drink, though. I'll be back by the time she does that. Is that right, Jamie?
Right.
Yes,
I'm
that's
asking Jamie if
correct.
She's getting rid of
Yes.
everybody. except-
Did you
people are
guys
talking?
want me to continue recording?
No, I think stop the
You need to
recording.
shut this recording off. We need to start a new one.